Epic Encounter Symbaroum Minion Box, The Gem in the Borrow, was one of the most ambitious set Steamforged games has made yet. The adventure was open-ended and modular, able to play out quite differently each time, and the minis were obviously top-notch, including 5 PC minis that you can very easily use for any adventure. This is the follow-up boss box, the Corrupted Coloss. Now, typically with Epic Encounter boss boxes, we get a boss encounter without too much of a story attached. We get story hooks, but most of the book is devoted to making the actual combat encounter interesting and cinematic. You get new boss actions, you get terrain features, you get these epic cinematic moments that can go beyond the stat block. So I'm very curious to see if the Ruins of Symbaroum Coloss box here does things any differently, because I certainly had some surprises in the Minion box. So with thanks to Steamforged Games for sending this my way to review, let's take a closer look at the Corrupted Coloss. Humblewood is one of my favorite 5e settings. It is a beautiful and lush world that is home to a complex society of animal folks. The new Humblewood Tales 5e supplement book features more than 200 pages of expanded lore with new adventures, creatures, magic items, and shops, a gazetteer of the great tree city of Alderheart, and so much more to enrich and inspire your Humblewood adventures. Gather your party for new tales from levels 3 through 8 as you encounter pirate mercenaries, face off against a slime king, and take on the god of shadow and trickery and an otherworldly nightmarish dreamscape. What tales will you tell? Check out Humblewood Tales today using our link in the corner or in the doohickey down below. So let's open up our box and see what's inside. In this set, you will find a single-sided map, our first surprise, the 27-page adventure booklet, which uses the 5e rules, a sheet of tokens that you can use in case you didn't have the minis from the corresponding Minion box, and the gargantuan 4-inch Coloss Mini, unprimed and unpainted, but fully assembled. Now, there is a ton of lore surrounding the history of the Colossi in the Symbaroum setting. The booklet will tell you everything you need to know, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to keep things rather simple. You'll see most Colossi, which can have many forms, accompanied by a witch who tends the creature. They're made when a witch, overwhelmed with corruption, chooses to undergo a ritual to become a Colossi rather than face death. Another witch performs a ritual and becomes that Colossi's attendant. If something happens to the attending witch, the Colossi become dangerously directionless, driven by nothing but hunger. This is what the characters face in this adventure. The detailed mini can obviously also double as a gargantuan treant type creature in your adventures if you want to reuse it down the road. If your characters ran through the Gem in the Borrow adventure, they likely came out of it with a gem that can be used to control or cure the corrupted colossi like this. But you can also play this adventure in isolation. If the characters do have the gem, they gain an action which they can use to slowly decrease the corruption of a creature like this, but it is a gradual process, so don't expect the colossi to just sit there and take it. The encounter takes place here in the Colossus lair. The map measures the usual 17 by 24 inches. Typically with boss boxes, we get a double-sided map with the boss's lair and all of its features laid out in slightly different arrangements on each side. This time, the back of the map is black. But as usual, you have several features on the map that come with their own gameplay rules, such as ancient magical menhirs from Symbar, the first ancient civilization of Davokar. You also find veins of corrupted earth and corrupted fir trees, which both have gameplay effects. The cave mouth itself on the left side of the map is filled with unnatural darkness, which can corrupt your players. If you can, use the corruption mechanics in the free Ruins of Symbaroum Rules PDF, because I think it will add to your story. The rest of the included booklet mainly focuses on the combat encounter. If you've run an Epic Encounters boss box before, you'll find this pretty familiar. You get an overview of the strategies the Coloss will use, you get off-stat block actions the Coloss can take to liven up the combat, and you'll get a couple of very powerful once-per-combat actions the Coloss can use to really shock your players. One of the standout features is the transformations the Coloss can undertake during the combat as that corruption takes hold. You get a whole table of changes that'll happen to it depending on your tier of play. Everything from its bark growing stronger to give it a higher AC, to sentient tentacles growing out of it to help with dexterity-based abilities. As always, you get a ton of tools to make this combat encounter memorable, and you can take this creature and these abilities and reuse them in future encounters for whatever game you're playing. Plus, I think that Epic Encounter books also teach you ways to come up with new abilities of your own that you can use in your future boss encounters in whatever game you're playing with whatever boss you're playing with. Finally, you get 3 stat blocks for the Coloss at different tiers of play, plus stat blocks for the barbarians, elves, and goblins because they can certainly get involved in this combat as well. So this set is certainly more in line with our traditional Epic Encounter boss boxes. The differences here are that you can also cleanse the Coloss of the corruption or bring it under your control using the gem from the minion box. This aspect of the encounter isn't expanded upon that much outside of that combat action that I told you about earlier with the gem. I wish there was a bit more meat on the bones in that regard. And like all the boss boxes, I would like there to be more of a conclusion to the story. After you kill or control the creature, you're kind of at the end of the story, and anything that happens after that is up to you. I would love to see some sort of denouement. Maybe some treasure that you can harvest from the creature, maybe a follow-up story hook about the repercussions of killing such an ancient beast. Maybe there's some advice to the DM on what to do if the party now has this giant colossi under their control. You are leaving me wanting more Steamforged games. Give me at least a push in the right direction here for continuing the story. But ultimately, this is another great set. If you like the previous Epic Encounter boss boxes, you're gonna enjoy this one too. You don't need to be invested into the Symbaroum setting to enjoy this, but if you are, I suspect that this will be a very interesting encounter to add into your campaigns. You can tell that there was a lot of care that went into the lore here. Again, you'll probably want to investigate the use of the Ruins of Symbaroum corruption mechanic rules to get the full use out of this 5e box, so do keep that in mind. Epic Encounters Ruins of Symbaroum, the Corrupted Coloss, is expected to be released on February 18th, 2025 for between $45 and $50. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. Next up, we are going to have our big video overview of the entire Epic Encounter series. So if you have questions or suggestions for that video, please let me know down below. If you're looking for another great campaign setting, check out Humblewood by our sponsor Hit Point Press. It is definitely a different vibe than Symbaroum, but it is also full of lore, adventure, and tough choices for your PCs. You can expand the setting with the Tales of Humblewood set available now. We'll have more on that one soon. And come hang out with me every Wednesday night as my friends and I play the social deduction game Blood on the Clock Tower, live on Twitch and on YouTube, and find me over on social media at one of the sites over here. For now though, please stay safe, have fun, love each other, and I will see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.